Alrighty, welcome everyone to the Exquisite Boys, episode 3. How's everyone doing today?
Not bad,
Good.
not bad.
Yeah. As we can see, we have yet another new host with us today. His name's Kale. Go ahead and say hi
Kahle.
for us.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, he's our other Canadian boy.
Yeah.
So he actually replaced somebody else. I don't know who he's replaced this time, but he replaced
Dylan.
somebody.
So
Evan.
Dylan is the replacement for what? Our Xanax user who overdosed.
Yeah,
And
he
then
overdosed on Molly. He overdosed
Molly.
on Molly.
Yeah. And then Kale is our replacement for Evan,
Evan.
just doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Hey, Ian, turn up your microphone real fast, all right?
Sorry, what?
You're a little quiet. Turn up your microphone volume.
Turn up anymore. It is on max.
Okay, well, you're
Okay.
just going to
Well,
scream
we're gonna
for
have
us,
to
all right?
crank you. There we go.
All right, well, I'll just have to do this. Yeah, no, Evan.
Yeah.
Evan starved to death, unfortunately, because he only drinks Dr. Pepper. That is it. That's all he does. Anyway, yeah, no, same with Sean. Oh, holy shit, you don't even want to
Alright.
know what happened to Sean.
I
You don't
just
even wanna
raised you, Ian. You're good. Okay, yeah.
know. You don't even want to
Yeah. Sean hasn't been on a single episode, I don't think, right?
No.
know. No, he was on one.
Yeah. No. Oh, was he? Was he on episode 1?
He was
Wait.
on the first or second.
Okay. I don't remember that.
We never uploaded episode 2 to YouTube.
I know. I'm in the middle of editing it right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm taking my time. I'm sorry, but yeah, no.
No, it's all
Hopefully,
good.
by the time, hopefully, episode 2 comes out before episode 3. That would that would be pretty funny, but yeah, no. So I've been seeing a lot of gym fails recently, man. It's probably because how much I've been going lately, but I have been seeing on my Instagram feed so many fucking gym fails. It's not even funny, and it's like from ego lifting to like just people just being like fucking retarded. It's mainly ego lifting actually, and people not lifting
Mhm.
right. And I have a couple videos I want to show y'all. So go ahead and open up that sync tube crap and let me know when we're all ready. Whoop, whoop, I'm already playing it. Oops. Oops. All right. So
We're
here's the
already
first
halfway
one.
through the video.
So here's the first one. So this is a deadlifting thing, and for those of you who don't know, that's supposed to work your hamstrings, and I believe that's behind your thighs, right? And this is an exercise you don't really want to do unless you're doing a competition, because
Yeah.
this exercise has a lot more cons than pros, and I don't do deadlifting because of that, because I don't want to hurt my back. But nevertheless, let's see what happens.
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, I just skipped that. Let's
Oh
try this.
shit!
There you go.
Damn.
Look at that dude. He's just a beast.
Dude, he pushed
He is-
through
oh,
it.
Yeah, he was what we call a legend, man. I have never, well, I've seen that before personally back when I was in football, and we weren't deadlifting. We were doing squat though, and I was like, bro, how much weight do you have to like lift to make yourself throw up like that, man? That's crazy, you know?
Eating too
I-
much
I've
before
been
the
like-
workout.
It could have been at the end of his workout too, because I know
That's
sometimes
true.
when I've worked out a lot, like by the end of it, I want to throw up. So
Yeah. Another thing too, I think, is that belt that keeps your back from arcing or whatever,
Yes.
rounding. I think that was pushing up in his stomach. I saw some comments underneath that though, that said that. I used to wear the belt a little bit.
Also,
Go
a
ahead.
really poor diet can make you throw up too.
That's
Like, you
true.
just eat complete dog shit.
He looked like he had some beef to him though, so I don't think his
Yeah.
diet's the horrible thing.
It
but we
could
can
be
just
too
speculate
much
on that
though.
one.
Eating too much.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
And also,
If-
like, right before you do it.
If you clean bulk, you eat quite a bit. So, and it probably had like a freaking protein shake before. So here's the next one. So this variation of squat, and I forget what this is called and what this works out, but there's a reason why I don't do this, and I don't like squatting period, but it's an essential compound lift, right? Anyway, here's the next one. If it'll play, there we go.
Oh! Oh, dude!
We got a heavy ass squad.
Oh,
Let's
it's
see.
playing again. Why is it playing? Stop! Don't. Let me pause. Let me pause
Let
it.
Seth control.
Yeah, let me control it. But
Bring it
anyway,
back to the beginning.
So yeah,
There.
yep. So there's that one.
Damn.
I don't remember what the reason for that is. I'm sure somebody can out there can say what it is for, man. But there's a reason why I don't do that because I like my wrists.
Yeah.
That wasn't just his wrist, dude. That was like his whole arm.
Yeah,
That was like
that and I'll
hundreds of
tell you.
pounds going that way, so his fucking
Yep.
elbows just rotated backwards.
Yeah, I just don't understand why people lift like that, because like there's a difference between strength training and muscular training, right?
Yeah.
And with muscular training, you want to go with volume, not intensity, and that's why I hate strength training on like dangerous compound lifts like squat because shit like that happens.
Yeah.
And it's like I like my bones, I like my joints, I like my muscles. I don't want to tear them, you know. It's crazy. So here's the next one. Here's yet another squat one.
Wow.
Oh, you can
Uh,
snap.
oh
Do you have any
no,
of people
dude.
doing leg presses? Have you seen those ones?
Oh,
I
those
have
are
The
brutal.
leg press
the
and their
leg
leg goes
presses.
like fucking yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you what, I I don't like leg press either, but I only do leg press when I'm doing calf press. And that's when I don't lock my knees, but I semi lock them a little bit, and I just push it up with my calves and get that good stretch in. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I do, and I'm careful with that because again, if you can't push it up, you're already locking your knees. You're gonna break your knees. But yeah, that's another thing why you don't ego lift because if your joints. Another thing people don't realize actually with weightlifting is you're also building your bone density as well. And if your bone density isn't on par, right, then you're gonna do that. He
Mhm.
probably he probably tore him. He could have torn his hamstring for all I know, but it looked like he broke his knee.
Well, did you
Um,
hear that snap? Like,
Yeah.
holy
yeah,
fuck,
it
But
dude.
yeah, the
That was
snap
crazy.
muscles can snap like that too, though. You can mistake a muscle like being or a
yeah, that's
bone
true.
being broken, yeah, from muscle being
So
torn. You
his
know,
his form there was also messed up. There's so much weight that he had to like
yep,
shift it to one side. So then his leg kind of went like that and then snap.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
yeah. I don't know, man. That shit is crazy. I just don't understand the whole. Again, compound lifts, right? You don't want to be ego lifting on, especially ones that are as dangerous as squat. I don't like doing squat, but you have to do them. If you want good
yeah.
thighs.
Well, Dylan and I do squats a lot. But I mean we
Yeah.
don't ego lift the squats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
do
Yes.
high reps. Yeah.
Yep. See, that's the big
high
thing.
reps, low
That's the
weight.
thing. Yep.
Yeah.
The biggest thing you want to look out for when you're trying to build muscle, not strength, is something called muscle hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, whatever the fuck, however it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Um, and that just means your muscles are swollen. And so for me, what I do, I get done with my workouts like in each like push pull leg core day whatever. I get done with my workouts within like 30 to 45 minutes, and that's because I have a rep range between 10 to 12. And of course, every single set, I'm like, okay, I can't do any more, right? But it's not because it's heavy. It's just the volume is pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
And I take minute breaks in between my rests because that's the ideal. It's between 30 to 60 seconds of rest in between sets to keep your muscle hypertrophy. And that's what I do, and it blows my mind when I see people like just lifting like so much weight and doing like 3 sets
Oh, I
or
know.
3 reps. I actually on my leg day, I hate doing leg and core day because like I'll do my squat and I go to Planet Fitness just because it's the closest gym, and it's been so busy lately with the New Year's going on.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of kids that go in there too, and so the Smith machines are always taken up. There's always three of them, and I can't get to them for squat. And so when I get done with squat, I'll do my core, no big deal. No one does core there, so that's no big deal. But then whenever I go to leg press, there's only one leg press machine, right? That isn't the actual like machine that has the cable and the bricks of weight. This one actually has the barbell weights on it. Those are the ones I like to do for my calf press. And I'm not even kidding you. There was this kid over there for 30 minutes doing like 2 reps, right, with a whole bunch of weight, and then he would rest for like 5 to 6 minutes, and he would do another 2 or 3 reps.
Bruh.
And I'm like, dude, what are you? You're not building strength or muscle, right? There's an effective or rep range for strength too, and it's not 2 or 3. I think it's like 4 to 6, something like that. You're not building muscle, and you're not building strength, and you're not building muscle endurance.
Yeah.
And shit like that makes me so mad because I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You're just wasting everyone's time. You know what I mean? It's
It's
crazy.
it's the same people who ego lift on bench press, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
And you see it.
That's
fucking-
dangerous, bro.
A lot of our not I guess not only that, but a lot of our kids, well, at least in the town that we live, they make these Instagram pages, and all it is just one max rep on bench press every time.
Yeah.
That's all
It's
they
okay to-
post, and it's like okay, they got 245s on each side, right?
Right.
And they do one rep, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
they leave.
Their
Ma-
PR, right?
Yeah. Maxing out our PRs is okay with me as long as you're in a safe range. You know what I mean?
I
Not
guess.
like some skinny kid with 4 plates on who's about to snap his wrists. You know what I mean? That's.
Yeah.
I actually tried to get that video on, but YouTube wouldn't let me upload it because the kid's wrist snapped in half. I'm not even kidding you. And it looked like a high school locker room, and I'm like, bro, or a weight room, and I'm like, bro, y'all, you have L friends because they're hyping him up. It's like, let's go, dude, let's go, just do one, and he lifts it up, and there's like 445s on each side, and I'm like, oh no, this dude's skin and bones. He looks like Dylan, right? Except skinnier than Dylan. But yeah, before Dylan started
Alex.
lifting, right?
Alex. Skinner.
Yeah, yeah, and dude, he snapped his wrist, and I'm like, oh my goodness, bro, that's a lifelong injury right there,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
That's ooh. All right, so here's the next one. This is another this is at Planet Fitness, and this is a compound machine. Or not sorry, Smith machine. So let's go ahead and play this one.
Motherfucker 450. He doesn't even want, he fucked up 455, so he thinks he can go 5 pounds lighter. He didn't even remove. I didn't even save the video for it because it was embarrassing. It's horrible. It was shit. Want something stuck. Oh!
Oh man,
Damn.
you passed out.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Dude, I was waiting for his arms to snap, but
No, he wasn't. He was actually he didn't go down low enough. Part of that's because the bench is there too. Whatever. Which that's fine. That's proper form if you don't want to work out your glutes. But yeah, I'm surprised he passed out from like that didn't really look like a whole lot of weight. There wasn't a single 45 on there. Um, but yeah, if you hold your breath while you're doing compound lifts like that, really heavy lifts, you know, it can really hurt you. It can really devastate you. When I was younger, when I first started lifting in football many years ago, I had an instant where I almost passed out. We were maxing out, and I was doing a power clean, right? Which that's kind of like deadlifting, but then you throw the weight up and you catch it and you squat up, right?
oh yeah.
And I was holding my breath, and I was maxing out with it, and I literally almost fell over and passed out because I got so lightheaded.
Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why they tell you to breathe and everything. So here's the last video. This one's deadlifting, and again, you know my opinion on deadlifting. This is the perfect example of why you shouldn't deadlift, period, because again, there's so many cons. If you're not doing competitions, then you shouldn't do it. And this is another prime example of how bad ego lifting is and how bad you can hurt yourself, because this is an injury I have not suffered from deadlift, but I have suffered from um, leg press. So let's go and watch this one.
Oh my god, please.
Dude.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
No.
What
Yeah.
kind of form was that even?
Yeah.
Like, what the
So
f-
Backs like that,
that's
dude.
that's all lower back, man. That
That
Yeah.
hurt my back watching it, dude. Like, ouch.
Yeah, I cannot stand watching people do deadlifts just at the gym who are kind of built like him. He got some muscle to him, but he's not built, you know what I mean? And when I see kids like that do that, I'm like, dude, first off, don't do that. But second off, your form, dude, you're gonna feel that tomorrow, and you're gonna feel that for several months. Like I rounded my back in a similar way like that, doing leg press, because again, I was PRing and I was putting way too many plates on. I think I put 7 plates on each side whenever I was doing my leg press, and I rounded my back by accident. And I tell you what, dude, it hurt for like a whole year. It just now started getting better ever since I started doing my leg and core day. But yeah, no, that shit's crazy.
Well-
I can't believe. Go ahead.
No. Oh, sorry. No, finish what you were gonna say.
Yeah, I can't believe people act like that, because that's like 345s plus probably a 45-pound bar. That's quite a bit of big boy weight for deadlifting.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like horrible weight, but it's big boy weight, and I'm like, dude, you're not built like that. You're not built for that just yet, dude. Stay in your lane, because people don't realize is they have that. I call it. I would almost consider calling it toxic gym culture, just because like it's cool that you want to max out and do the most weight, but when you're
Yeah.
ego lifting like that, all you're doing is promoting injury. You're gonna hurt yourself, and other people are gonna watch, see what you're doing and try to do it too, and then hurt themselves without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it kind of looked like he was doing it as a joke to mock people with shitty form, right? Or was he actually trying to lift that with that form?
I think he was trying to lift it because he was actually straining. Like, just
Yeah.
I would guess he was because how much he was straining to do it. And I wouldn't do that, strain that much as a joke because he definitely hurt something in his lower back.
But I've seen Colton, so you know Colton. When I used to go back to the
Yeah,
gym with
our
him,
monkey man.
he would pick up like a 60-pound dumbbell and try to curl it, and he was fucking like, I don't know, he would just like, he would actually try as well, and like he would end up like, he didn't hurt himself, but he was struggling. So, and it looked exactly like that.
Yeah,
So
there's actually there's one more video. Let me find it real fast. That I want to show you. This one's preacher curls. I like preacher curls because it gives a very specific burn. I think it works both the heads of your or your biceps. But
oh yeah.
if you don't do them right, it can hurt really badly. But no, was Colton doing like the momentum curls? Like,
Well,
can you show us how he was doing it?
like yeah, like
It's like
that.
standard
Just
bicep curl.
Okay. So he was actually doing proper form. He wasn't just throwing the weight up, right?
well, he tried to do proper form, but it was too much weight for one arm. So, but I mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
would do that as a
Yeah.
joke, right?
Yeah.
So he'd run up, grab like a 60 or an 80-pound dumbbell and try to curl it. But obviously he
Yeah.
can't.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Right. All right. So here's the next one. This is the last one I'm going to show you. This one just reminded me of this. So this one is called, like, again, preacher curl. This guy's setup isn't right, and I'll show you. I'll kind of explain that after we're done.
The good part.
You see both of his biceps being torn on the long head, right where that connects that elbow. And that, and other again too, is that's a lifelong injury there. Um, he isn't necessarily ego lifting. That's the cool part about him, and he's a very trained professional. I actually follow him on Instagram. That I don't know how long that took. I want to say a year, but I'm not 100% certain how long that took. Um, but yeah, he recovered fully from it, and he does curls now too. But you got to think that's a lot of physical therapy, and that was surgery too to reattach those heads. And
Yeah.
it's not horrible to do because the faster you get in there, the better, right? But anyway, the reason why his both of his biceps tore like that, it's because the angle of his I just deleted the angle of his creature curl thing. Usually he's just how he was doing, he was adding so much stress. That's kind of hard to explain without like or having like a whiteboard. But basically how he was doing it, the angle he's doing it, he was putting all of the stress from that curl to where his elbows were at, right?
Mm.
Where it connects to the elbow, right? And that's why they snapped because they eventually just got torn. Um, and that's a really good example on why you should really watch your form with preacher curls. He wasn't, like I said, he wasn't necessarily equal lifting because he was doing his normal reps. The dude's jacked too, so I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's eating right, obviously too. But when you make something homemade like that too, with just a regular barbell and stuff like that, you kind of get in some dangerous area because when I preacher curl, I make sure I have the tension spread out evenly through my biceps. Does it fucking hurt? Absolutely. But I mean, it's better than tearing both your biceps,
Yeah.
you know? So that's yeah, that's pretty well interesting, I suppose. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no. Man, Kale, so we haven't you've been on here for a while, man. Or this is your first episode. How you enjoying the podcasting scene so far, man?
I'm honestly I'm really enjoying it. It's really interesting to hear your guys' opinions on things, and I'm also like really starting to learn a lot more about like workouts and stuff like that, and like what you should and shouldn't be doing because like I'm just starting to get into working out myself. Just because of the job that I have now, it's better for me when I'm on my days off to be working out, and especially too, I get the winters off, so I'm usually off between December and usually I'll start work between the end of February or the beginning of March. That's when
Right.
I should be starting getting back to work. So I have a big period of when I'm not working, and what I started doing was working out during that period, and I realized as soon as I started working out that I don't know what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
actually hearing your guys' opinions on these things actually really makes me really look at the workouts that I was doing and want to change them up and change how I actually am working out consistently. So it is really
Yeah,
interesting. I really much like it.
the biggest thing with working out, man, is it's a 50-50. Well, honestly, it's probably about 80-20. The biggest thing you can do with working out is nutrition. You got to get your macronutrients down too.
Yeah.
Not the other ones like carbs and fat isn't the most important thing if you want to build muscle. You mainly want to eat a bunch of protein, and usually the formula goes from 0.75 to about 1.5 of grams of protein per pound of body weight. So that's I kind of go right with one for one. So if you weigh 200 pounds and 200 grams of protein, but you want to get your other carbs and your macronutrients in as well.
Yeah.
Carbs are pretty important though because you need the energy to build. Um, so and then usually how people build weight with muscle mass, they bulk. And you can do dirty bulking or clean bulking. Dirty pretty much just means you're eating way more than you should and you're gaining more fat than when you do. So when you cut, it's going to be harder to get rid of that. But your body, when you build muscle, your body needs to be in a caloric surplus, which means you need to be basically making fat to build muscle. You can do something called main gaining and lean bulking, which basically means with lean bulking, you're on a cut, so you're still losing fat, but you're building muscle. But that one's a really slow process, and you really have to be hitting your macronutrients on par. Like you have to be counting everything. Most people don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's too much math during the
Yeah,
day.
it sounds like a lot of
Yeah,
Yeah.
math.
yeah.
You
I
gotta like
actually,
control what you eat, and you can't like if you're out with people, you can't eat what they're eating and
yep,
shit.
yep, exactly.
Fucking
So
sucks.
I just, and then with main gaining just means you're eating at a caloric maintenance, which just means you're not losing fat or you're not gaining fat, right? But you're gaining muscle. That one's a bit easier to do, but again, you still have to kind of watch your calories and watch your protein, not so much the other stuff, because when you're in a caloric deficit, right, you have less energy just because you're burning more energy than you're eating. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and then of course, bulking. Like I just explained earlier, you're gaining fat. You're eating more calories than you burn, so you're gaining fat. But the trick is though, you don't want to store up too much fat in the muscle because when you cut, it's going to be really hard to keep all that muscle and lose all that fat. For me right now, I just got done with my really short bulk. I'm weighing at 230 right now, and I'm going to cut, and I'm going to try to get all of it to 160 to 180, somewhere around there. And that's mainly because of health reasons, just because I have high blood pressure. And I have a feeling that this bulk really kind of raised my blood pressure up. And so when I get down to that, that's when I'm going to do probably a 6 month bulk, which mine's not very conventional. Most people say if you weigh quite a bit, just keep weighing that much and gain or keep lifting, right? And then some people say to do it. My approach. My thing is longevity. Of course, I want to look good, but I want to also live the longest I can. So that's why I'm did a really short bulk just to kind of build up somewhat of a foundation for when I cut. And like right now on my notes tab for my phone, I actually have every single day uh, for my macronutrients. Like yesterday, I ate 187 grams of protein with 40 grams of fat, 56 carbs with calories of 2,700, and a sodium intake. So I have to watch my sodium, 724 milligrams, and that's what I do every single day. Is I watch that. A really good thing though for when you want to cut is have you guys heard of the keto diet?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's another fad diet. Listen, man, you're never going to lose weight if you're not in a caloric deficit. And so when say if you in a carnivore diet, if you keto diet, whatever, if you're eating more calories than you burn, you're not going to lose fat. I mean, that's just how it is, right? But with ketosis, right, the keto diet, for those of you who aren't aware, basically what you do is you kind of, I don't want to say starve, but you limit how many carbs your body takes, and so you mainly eat fat and protein. A normal keto diet, you mainly eat fat, but if you say for cutting, like a bodybuilder keto, you would eat a bunch of protein, a bunch of fat. And so the idea behind it is you put your body through the state of ketosis, which, long story short, and a bunch of science stuff, it uses fat mainly. Um, he converts those over to the carbs, I believe, and he uses that for energy. So you burn fat faster
Mm.
if you're on a caloric cut. And so that's a trick with it. And combine that too, if you do fasted cardio for about 45 minutes a day, walk, you burn calories, right? Through that, right? And say if you are a normal person, if you do that fasted cardio, there's no sense to do that because you're going to burn the same amount of calories as somebody who fed themselves before the cardio, right? However, if you go through keto and cut your carbs out, you'll actually burn more fat, and the reason why is because your body adapts. And so when you do fasted cardio, right, and you eat plenty of carbs for the day, your body will actually use those carbs as the energy it pretty much lost during the fasted cardio. So if you limit your carbs throughout the day, you burn more fat. So there's a little keto hack. I'm not necessarily on keto. I'm kind of on a semi keto. I'm just limiting my carbs um, quite a bit. I think the suggested range is between 50 to or 20 to 50 carbs a day, but it's different on who you ask. So I'm just trying to limit mine, but not necessarily going within the keto range. Because again, I don't want to be tired all the time. That's the worst part about ketos. It takes a while to adjust to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some advice for any of y'all that are listening who are wanting to do that.
Heck yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
before we continue on, I just had one question. So like for me, I've been trying to like very much bulk up, but I also have a bad habit of like eating a lot. I'm not eating a
yep,
lot, like eating very little. You know what I mean? Like I'll go like
right.
1 week, I'll eat a shit ton, and then all of a sudden, like I get on my days off, and now I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna be lazy. I'm not gonna actually go out and make myself food. I'm just gonna make, you know, noodles and stuff like that. And then it's 5 days where I'm pretty much eating like noodles and crap. And then I get back to work, and now I'm actually eating properly, like steak, potatoes, and I'm trying to bulk up a lot more. But at the same time, I find that it's really hard for me to keep a good habit with that. So like, what's a good way to keep a good habit for those type of things? And like, like even if like since you like if you are bad with those types of things, what's a good way to like keep yourself on track and keep yourself in check? You know what I
So
mean?
a good man, the hardest thing to do to build muscle is starting from skinny. And I think Dylan and Jesse can kind of attest to this, especially Dylan, because when you eat and you're skinny, right, you're not going to eat a whole bunch of calories because you're just not going to feel hungry like that. And
Right.
so the problem you get from there is you're going to have to force feed yourself a little bit. And that's the hardest part because you're going to feel sick. And the reason why you do that is you want to raise your metabolism up too. And when your metabolism goes up, that's when you start getting hungry. So my biggest advice, man, is make sure you hit your protein. That's the biggest thing you need to do when you're skinny, right?
Right.
Um, so find a really good source. Actually, the best source of meat for protein and in terms of how vitamin dense it is red meat, especially bison. I think bison's the top, right?
Ooh.
But red meat, so like ground beef, if you can find something that doesn't have a lot of preservatives in it, right?
Yeah.
That's the way you want to go. Like just ground beef is really good for you. Same, like I said, same with bison. Chicken's also good for you too, but it's not as not as vitamin dense as regular meat. But then you can go with protein shakes as well or protein snacks, just as long as you're force feeding yourself. Count your calories, don't do a dirty bulk. But try to do a little bit more than a clean bulk, just because so a clean bulk would be like 200 to 500 caloric surplus. So say if you're resting, you burn 2,000 calories a day, you would eat 2,500 at the most. I would probably say 2,500 to 2,700. That's what I would do if you're skinny, just so you can put your metabolism up, so you're not force feeding yourself and you not feel like you're gonna throw up every single day. But that's kind of there's not really a key that fits all, because
Yeah.
you're gonna deal with that force feeding problem.
I found personally, after like eating one meal a day for like years, the first few days of like force feeding yourselves, that is the hardest part. But then after that, you're just hungry all the time.
Yeah,
Like
Yep.
I went years only eating one meal a day and then just eating like absolute dog shit like potato chips and stuff.
Yeah.
And then since September, I just started to like force feed myself. I'd force myself to eat breakfast. I'd force myself to eat lunch, and then I'd force myself to eat dinner. And then the days after that, if I like went without eating breakfast or lunch, I would feel like shaky and unhealthy because you just get used to eating that much.
yep, yep. And the biggest thing, like it says, is it raises your metabolism. That's the thing you want to happen,
Yeah.
because the higher you can raise your metabolism for when you get to your cut, the easier it is to lose weight. And the reason why that is say because say let's just say your resting metabolism right now, since you're a really skinny guy, Kale, is
Hmm.
1500, right? That's pretty low. So when you bulk up and by the time you get to the end of your bulk, let's say you raise it up to 2600, 2700, resting. That's not doing any, that's just you sitting still in a dark room with no sensory at all, right? You
Right.
know, without working out, nothing like that. That's a pretty reasonable, good range for someone your age, right? And so say on top of that you burn 1,000 calories a day because you're really hitting that gym intense. You have 3,600, like say 2,600 is how much you burn resting. You have 3,600 calories you can eat, right? And so that's the easiest part. The higher you raise your metabolism, the less you have to cut your diet off. Of course, when you cut, you're going to lower your metabolism a little bit, and that's why you track your weight and everything, right? And your look. But that's why you want to raise your metabolism up so much so you have easy room. Because if you try to cut only having 1,500 calories a day, dude, that ain't shit, dude. You're not gonna eat. You're not gonna have a whole lot of food. I think 1 pound of chicken breast is like almost 1,000 calories, and that only has like 60 grams of protein. You know what I mean? You're not gonna, and not a whole lot of nutrients in it as well. You're not gonna get very far with that diet, you know. So that's the big. That's like I said. It's really hard to build muscle from skinny rather than building muscle from fat. You know.
Yeah, because I definitely need to ask these kind of questions because for me, weight is a big factor with my kind of work. Weight will change how easy drilling is, how easy it is to knock out rocks. It's a very big factor. Like right now, I weigh about 145 pounds, and the drill alone that I have to carry up the hill with me weighs 145 pounds. So
Damn,
I'm
dude.
I'm carrying my weight up the hill and then having to drill into rock, and then you have to like position yourself, and I have to like the other guys like they're all like 230 and stuff like that, so they can just push into the drill and it's no problem. But for me, I'm having to wrap my leg around it, shorten my rope up, and then having to like literally have no feet on the ground and letting my whole body weight push down on this drill just for it to do a very slight bit. So bulking up is a big thing that I've been trying to focus on recently. So yeah, this is actually really good information because I have been mainly eating chicken because it's been very cheap, but I will definitely start moving into more red meats and stuff like that. Yes, it might be a little bit hard on my bank account, but whatever. At least then I can actually start to do my job a lot easier than having to struggle the entire time.
Yeah, that's
Right.
fair.
There are also foods that are just empty calories that you can kind of shove in your diet too. I wouldn't suggest doing that forever because that will get you fat when your metabolism starts to kick up and you start feeling hungry all the time. But like, it's just like Dylan said, the worst part is the hardest part of all of that is the first step, and the first step is eating like you want, eating like a big man, you know.
Right.
That's the hardest part. Like honestly, the gym is the easy part in terms of building muscle. The nutrition is the hardest part, honestly. Um, cutting is honestly probably the easy part. Bulking really sucks because personally for me, I have body dysmorphia, and so when I have those puffy cheeks, man, I get so self-conscious and I get that high blood pressure. I'm just like, bro, I'm trying to live long. I ain't trying to like, I'm not gonna die tomorrow because of high blood pressure, right? But I'm like, if I keep this up for years, it's not gonna be good, you know. So that's why I'm trying to lower my weight down to a pretty good pretty area, you know.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
But yes,
So
but no,
sorry, I,
you go
I
ahead.
I wanted to cut in there. So adding to that because I'm trying to figure out diet as well, and I'm trying to figure out because what you eat after workout is also important, is it not?
So they call that the anabolic window. That's not really a real thing. Um, that's kind of fake. It is important though. You want to eat mainly a bunch of protein because that's when you tear your muscles up. But the
Right.
anabolic window, they say if you don't eat 45 minutes after your workout, you lost all your gains. That's false. Don't listen to that. You can, if you don't take my word for it, look up plenty of fitness YouTubers online. You don't want to wait till like 4 hours after to start eating. That's not good for you either. But I mean, you want to eat a good amount of protein after,
So
you know.
protein after. What about before workout?
Pork, that's fine as long as you want to. So the ideal diet for like getting muscles on you, bulking up, is say you weigh 200 pounds. You want to eat, ignore the other macronutrients, right? You want to eat 200 grams of protein a day. Um, Ideally, you want to space that out. It doesn't exactly matter for the workout. Just I mean, it's just as long as you get some of it after the workout, right?
Right.
But as long as you hit the 200 a day, that doesn't mean purge like two or like just eat 200 grams of protein at once. That's not good for you either because some of that's going to go to waste anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, but like ideally you want to space it out evenly throughout the day. Maybe tip a little higher on the side, maybe 60% after workout, 40 before the workout. But mainly your goal for the day is to space it out evenly as much as possible and hit that 200 or your protein goal for the day.
Right. So for someone like me, would I just do a bit of protein before a workout and a bit of protein after, or should I like load up on carbs before a workout or something?
So the ideal with, well, that's a big question. So with carbs, you want to eat throughout the day just because you want to get energy.
Right.
It's carbs is not like caffeine for like a pre-workout. If you want something to have a whole bunch of energy, say if you're lacking energy throughout the gym and you're eating right and you're sleeping right, get some pre-workout that has a bit of caffeine and read the directions. I don't take caffeine or a pre-workout personally because I don't need it, but say if it says take it 45 minutes before you start working out, do that because that'll give you plenty of energy.
Yeah.
But in terms of your food and carbs, don't like it's the same thing with protein. Don't eat everything all at once. Just eat
Yeah.
a little more than what you usually do throughout the day, right? And spread it out evenly. If you notice you start getting tired before your workout's over, maybe eat more before the workout in terms like carb heavy foods and fat heavy foods, right?
Right.
Or even protein, right? But it really just it's again, it's not one size fits all. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
how you're feeling. So like I said, if you're feeling tired, maybe eat a little more. If you're still feeling tired, maybe experiment with energy drinks or pre-workout or even a soda pop that has some caffeine in it. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
experiment with it a little bit. That's what I
Well,
would
and
do
Jesse can't
personally.
really do caffeine.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I then especially for you, stay away from pre-workout then, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But for you though, I mean, try to eat more fats and carbs throughout the day before, just so you have plenty of energy. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you feel like you're eating too much, tune it back a little bit. If you feel like you're not getting enough, tune it up a little bit. That's
Right.
my advice for you.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I would do. I don't know why I'm becoming a nutrition coach all of a sudden.
Bill Nye, dude.
I know, right?
Yeah. So,
Bill Nye, the nutrition guy.
um, on the topic of diets, have you guys heard of the like an all meat diet or all red meat diet?
Yep. So they
Yeah.
call that the carnivore diet. Yep.
Yep,
I did
yep,
that for some
yep.
time.
Isn't that what the I can't remember, Liver King, that's his name. Isn't that what he does?
Not
Yeah, he also
necessarily.
does steroids.
Yeah,
So
he
Yeah,
does.
that too.
No, he does $1,500 a month on steroids. First off, that's
Yeah.
very expensive steroids.
Yes.
Um,
so
but
Jor-
no,
Jordan
g-
Peterson does it. He's some Canadian guy. I don't really know what he does, but anyways,
He's like a philosopher.
something like that. Yeah, yeah. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast and he was talking about so his daughter has autoimmune disease, right? And growing up her entire life, that they would notice she would eat an orange and then she would have a bad reaction to like an orange for like a week or whatever. And then so they're like, okay, well maybe it's like diet that's relating or at least triggering the autoimmune disease. And they literally it took like 2 or 3 years of experimenting, but they brought it down to just red meat. Only red meat, nothing but red meat, salt, and water. And all of her autoimmune diseases are just gone. She doesn't have to take any medication, nothing. But she's stuck to eating red meat. And so he did the same. And he has no troubles waking up in the morning. He can wake up at 6 in the morning, not struggle to get out of bed. His depression is a lot better. He doesn't have high anxiety anymore. A lot of the things he had medically that he was taking medications for have magically cleared up, all because he was just eating straight up just red meat.
Mhm.
So
And I
So-
wonder how much of that is actually related to the diet or not.
yeah,
so
I have no idea.
to add on to this, I am not 100% certain, but if I were to make an educated guess, like I said before, red meat is very nutrient dense. And you, as a human, you need, dude, you should see how many vitamins and minerals you need just for building muscle, right? You need quite
Oh,
a bit.
yeah.
So you can imagine how many of those nutrients you need for just basic function, right? And so my theory is that since you're only eating red meat in the carnivore diet, I'd imagine that some of your body's lacking in nutrients. Like for example, there's this YouTuber. Oh, I forget. I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. He has this problem where he has a vitamin B12 deficiency, and that's a very common vitamin your body makes. And most blood work doesn't even test for that, right?
Yeah.
But he's had a problem seeing like borderline schizophrenia, where he sees like shadow people like all the
Jesus.
time, right? And he has a bunch of health problems, and they finally figured it out that he has a vitamin B12 deficiency, and just a single vitamin can ruin somebody's life like that, you know.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say ruined. He's very popular, but right, he's been doing that for a while, and he's like bedridden right now, just because of what's going on. And so I would imagine something like that for red meat. Maybe all those you're getting all those nutrients since you're only eating red meat.
Right.
I'd imagine something in there is helping out because he actually, I know the clip you're talking about that. He
Yeah.
actually said it completely cured his anxiety and his depression, right? And he's not the only influencer I've seen that said that, right?
Yeah.
Even Joe Rogan himself said he feels more energetic. He
Oh yeah.
feels younger,
Oh,
right?
you lose a fuck ton of weight off of it too.
Yep, yep, yeah. And that's just because you believe it or not, man. If you find fresh ground, like just fresh ground beef, it's not a lot of sodium in it, a bunch of nutrients in it, right? And it's not very like it doesn't have a lot of calories in it either. I think maybe a pound's a little under 1,000 calories, dude, and that's plenty of protein. Like that's not your limit, but I mean that's a plenty of That's a good half the protein you need for the day, especially. And there's
Yeah.
no carbs in it either, as well. So say if you're on keto, it's good for you too.
He
Um,
he was also in another interview where he was saying the cons about it. I don't remember exactly what they were,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, and it sounded like bad. Like
I know the shitting con or the con
Yes.
where like it's just straight up brown oil liquid.
Yeah. You just shit straight up water for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
all. Yeah.
I have a theory about that though. I think something in that meat is causing you to flush out your bowels. Something like that. Because if you drink a bunch of water, I've been drinking a lot of water lately for other reasons. But I have a theory because mine actually my bowels have been pretty awful lately too. Not to get into that. It's been something similar to that as well. And I'd imagine there's something in the meat that flushes out your bowels as well. You
Yeah.
know?
So it was either that or I think someone brought up, it might have been Joe Rogan. He also said it could have been that fiber is a big part has a big part to play in your bowels. And so when you
Yeah.
take fiber out, it's just all of a sudden everything just becomes water. And that
Yeah,
fiber
that's yep.
is like a key part to actually making your stool like stiff, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's a good theory too. Um, yeah, I think the carnivore diet's a fairly new fad diet that's coming out now. I wouldn't even call it fad. It's actually a pretty good diet. Um, but yeah, I think it's fairly new, so I don't think there's a whole lot of medical research on it either,
No.
much like keto diet and other stuff like that.
But
So,
but that got me thinking because I'm doing a lot better now, but I used to struggle a lot with insomnia, and you guys know this. Um,
yeah.
like I used to struggle bad, like not even like a month ago. It was horrible. And then it got me thinking, like, what if my insomnia problems are related to my diet, right? Maybe I need more red meat. And so last week I went out and I had a huge fucking New York steak like this, and I had the best sleep I had in, I swear to God, in years. Like legit, I fucking passed out at 9 p.m., slept for like 12 hours, woke up. I had no struggles getting out of bed. Like I literally woke up 2 hours before my alarm at 6 in the morning, got up, like no struggles, literally just jumped out of bed, went to the gym with Dylan, and just fucking went at it for 3 hours. So
That's good, man. I was
yeah.
really worried about you for a little bit when I didn't even know that happened, man.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. No, it got so bad. I was having like visual and auditory hallucinations all day, and I was getting sleep paralysis a lot. So
Yeah.
it was pretty
Yeah,
bad. But
you'd be surprised like how much nutrition and diet comes into play for your basic
oh yeah,
functioning.
for sure.
It's crazy. Yeah, I actually take multivitamins now. I take like 6 pills a day minus my medication, just because I want to get the proper nutrition or the proper vitamin and minerals in my body for
Yeah.
basic functioning along with muscle growth as well, you know. And so it's really important for the human body.
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
like I want to look into like actually taking more vitamins as well. I might actually talk to
yeah,
you about it another time and see what I should start taking. But also, taking too many vitamins could quite literally kill you.
Yep.
So
I can 100% kill you.
back in December when I first started having insomnia problems, I was recovering from surgery, but I was stuck inside, so I couldn't do anything. I was a vegetable sitting in my basement for 2 weeks, and so I'm like, oh shit, I'm not getting any sunlight. Let me start taking vitamin D, and so I started taking vitamin D, and then all of a sudden I started just getting no sleep, like literally 3 days I didn't sleep 1 minute, and so I was like, well, so I searched it up on Reddit, and they're like, oh, so if if you are taking vitamin D and you are what was it called when you take too much?
It's a surplus.
Overdosing, I guess. Overdosing on vitamin D. Turns out I didn't actually need it, and when you overdose on vitamin D, it cuts the natural production of melatonin in your brain, and therefore you just cannot sleep if you overdose on vitamin D. So
That's interesting.
then I stopped it, and the next night I slept like a baby. But then a month later, I started having more problems due to other reasons of sleeping. But
Yeah, that's a big thing too with vitamins. You really gotta watch what you're doing. Like for me, my biggest like thing what I do is I take multivitamins like I'm supposed to twice a day,
yep,
and we'll see what happens, right? If I get less sleep, then as in your case, stop taking the multivitamins twice a day, maybe once a day,
yeah,
you know. Um, that's what I would do. Um, but yeah, Kale, actually, so before the show started, we were talking about mental health, man.
Hmm.
It's been a while since we talked to you, man. So how have you been doing?
Well, honestly, man, I've been doing a lot better. About a year ago, I know Jesse and Dylan know about this, but about a year ago, I actually had a full-blown psychotic break and ended up going to the psych ward in the hospital for about 3 weeks. And I ended up getting diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2, um, psychosis, and split personality disorder. So yeah, so it was a lot of different things, and I got put on a whole bunch of different medications. It was antidepressants, antipsychotics, and all this fun stuff. And honestly, like I took medications for probably about 6 months, 6 to 7 months, and then I stopped taking them because when I was taking medication, I found that it made me not feel like myself. I didn't feel human.
yep,
I'd wake up in the morning and I wouldn't actually like wake up until about 10 o'clock. It was like for the first 3 months, I actually didn't remember what happened between 6 a.m. and 10 o'clock. It was just a complete blur, and all of a sudden, I just snap back into reality, and it's like, where am I? What am I doing? And like it was bad, dude. Like I was fully like talking to myself. People would come into my room and I'd be sitting there having a full-blown conversation with somebody who's not there, but I was fully convinced that there was somebody there. And like it was also too like I would go from super happy, like like we're hanging out, we're having a few drinks or whatever, and I'm in a really good mood, and all of a sudden like nobody would say anything or do anything, and all of a sudden I'm no longer that person. I am completely shy from the world. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm getting very angry and I'm snapping at people because half the time I wouldn't actually know what was real and what wasn't. I would go to sleep at night, have these super intense dreams where in the morning it was just like I don't know if this is real. This could be fake. This could be reality. I don't know. And I just it got to a point where I was just so terrified on what I could do to myself because I didn't know if today was the day that I was actually going to finally kill myself or if I was just going to end up waking up in the morning and, okay, well, I guess we'll just do this all over again. And so then what happened was I stopped taking medications, the medications that the doctor had prescribed me, and then I just started doing a lot of research on the diagnosis that I got, and just like really learning how to deal with those things without medications, how to deal with those things like just naturally. You know what I mean? Like changing your diet, changing how you perceive the world. Acknowledging when those switches happen and expressing them to other people, not just hiding from other people and saying like, "Oh no, everything's fine," because that's honestly the worst thing that you can do in those situations.
Mhm.
Because you know what? It's okay not to be okay. But I wouldn't accept that. I would always push that aside and go, no, I have to be okay for these people. I have to show a happy face and I have to be okay. And
Right.
then a big part of it too was I was smoking a lot of weed. Like I was probably going through an ounce and a half a week, maybe. And if you're a weed smoker, you know that that's a very large amount. And so I smoked myself stupid, and then it just like it was bad. And once I actually learned how to properly deal with those things, like my life had a complete change. Like it completely flipped upside down, and now it's like, wow, like I'm actually like more motivated to go out and do things. I'm more happy with the fact that yeah, no, like I do have these conditions, but at the same time, these conditions don't control my life. These conditions make me me. They don't define me as a person. It's not just, oh no, he's just that schizophrenic guy who, not schizophrenic, sorry. He's just that guy with psychosis who's crazy in the corner who's talking to himself, twitching his fingers and stuff like that. Like I'm actually like I'm myself. I'm my own person. These things don't define me. Yes, no, I do struggle with them to this day, and a lot of the time it is hard to admit that I am struggling sometimes. But when I do admit that I'm struggling, it takes a huge weight off my chest, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I said before the show, I'm really happy that you got your mental health in order, dude. Because you know my story too. I smoked a whole bunch of weed, dropped some acid and shrooms, and I had a really bad acid trip on 900 micrograms of LSD one night, and
Yeah.
that was my first ever anxiety attack of my life. So you can imagine what was going through my head during that.
Oh,
I
definitely.
Yeah, I remember like hearing like World War II era atomic bomb sirens going off, and then
Jesus.
feeling like somebody was squeezing my brain and like squeezing the juices out of it, dude, like a sponge, and it hurt so bad. And then
Mm-hmm.
I kept smoking weed after because I was a dumbass, and I remember I smoked myself so like a silly, like just dummy silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I had another anxiety attack that night because I remember I had my flower in my cart and I hit it for like 5 minutes back to back to back without any breaks. And I get uncomfortable high every now and then back then, and my uncomfortable high was like the starting point. Because when you smoke weed, you smoke a little bit, and then you get a little high, and then it kind of builds up for a couple minutes, a few minutes.
Yeah.
My limit was like right when I got that buzz, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm in for a ride, dude." And when I peaked, I was like having a psychotic anxiety attack, dude. I had a mental breakdown, and dude, I'm not even kidding you. That was horrible. So that's my experience with mental health and drug abuse, and I'm just now like recent the last couple of months, starting to fully recover from all that crap, dude. Because like I just started smoking weed again, just here and there, like just every once in a while, just for fun. And
Mm-hmm.
dealing with that, I remember one night I was laying down in my bed and I was kind of high, and I'm still not super comfortable with it. So I work through anxiety because I meditate now too. And I was laying there and I was like, man, I'm kind of high laying down. I don't really like this. And I'm like, let's just close my eyes and listen to a little video on YouTube. That's what happened. And I felt like the head rush of just being so high. And I was just like, this is okay. We're okay. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. And just to tell yourself, for me, that helps me is everything in your brain is just a chemical reaction, right? Anxiety, weed, if you have an anxiety attack from weed, what helps me through it, if you start getting anxiety, is to say, hey, you smoked a foreign substance that isn't dangerous. You're having some anxiety, and like everything, it'll pass, you know?
Yeah. And
So,
like that is a huge thing as well, is like a lot of people is once they start getting into that anxiety attack, they literally freak the fuck out. Like my aunt probably get like because my aunt's a nurse, she probably gets 6 to 7 people a day that come in that think that they're overdosing from weed just because of how intense their anxiety attack.
oh
And
yeah,
it's a lot of the time it's what people don't get is yeah, no, like sometimes you can get an anxiety attack from it, but the best thing that you can do is take a deep breath, go with the flow. Don't fight it. Don't try and act sober. Tell people that you're stoned as shit or whatever it is, and just relax. Go to your comfort things. You know what I mean? If it's a certain show that you love to watch and that brings you peace, go watch that show. If there's a certain food that you love to eat, go eat that food. You know what I mean? Calm yourself down, relax, know that everything's gonna be okay. The biggest thing that helped me when it came to like smoking weed and getting used to it was the first 30 minutes are the most intense.
Oh yeah.
That's just how it normally is. You know, you first start smoking weed, 15 minutes goes by, you're starting to really peak, you're like, "Whoa, this is intense." And then after that 30 minutes, that's when things kind of start to slow down a little bit and you start to really like feel like the body high more or less. And then you're like, you know, you're kind of talking to yourself a little bit and you're like, "Hey, like things are starting to feel good." Like, you know, but it's getting through that first 30 minutes. That's what I always found with smoking weed. And don't get me wrong, I am not a person who is against weed. Weed helps a lot of people with their anxiety, their depression. It all depends on how you use it and if you decide to abuse it or not. If you abuse weed, weed will kick you right back in the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has its benefits, but there are their slight downfalls. But you just have to watch out for those things. It's not like the thing that I found with me is don't smoke weed by yourself. Don't start relying on weed to go to sleep at night. It's, you know, if you go out with friends and you guys are having a few drinks or something like that, or you guys are wanting to watch a stupid movie, like a Bollywood movie or something like that. You smoke a joint with the boys and then you go watch the movie. Yeah, no, that's a perfect example to go and smoke weed. But it's when you start getting home every night and you're like, "Hey, I need a hoot after work," or "I need to smoke weed." You don't need to do that. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's acknowledging when, okay, no, I think I've smoked too much weed, or knowing that, okay, you know what, like it's been giving me a lot of anxiety attacks recently. Maybe I just shouldn't smoke it for the next little while. Maybe it should just be once in a blue moon type of thing. Because if you really start to abuse it, that's when it really does start to take a toll on your mental health. Because you like, for example, when I first started smoking weed, and I know that you guys could 100% tell when I first started smoking weed because I went from every day I would join the Xbox Live party, hang out with you guys all night long and stuff like that, get off like 2:30 in the morning after playing games, and I'd be super talkative and super active. But then once I started smoking weed and I was doing it only by myself and I was using it to go to sleep at night and I started to rely on it a lot more, I stopped hanging out with you guys. I stopped joining the parties. I stopped replying in the group chats and stuff like that because I just had this anxiety like, "Oh my goodness, like I missed out," or "Oh no, I'm too stoned. I don't want to talk and they probably think I'm being weird," or I say something when I'm stoned and then I hyper fixate on that one thing that I said and I freak the fuck out. And then I'm like, "Oh my goodness, like I did something wrong. I shouldn't be around these people." And then it's like, "Oh, like they think that I'm just some pothead or something like that." And then you really start to degrade yourself as a human being. That's what my experience was. So, um, that's like a big thing that I find that people need to watch out for with smoking weed, especially when like, because I do not recommend smoking weed at a young. Smoking weed at a young age is a very bad thing. I highly recommend people, especially people who are listening to this podcast right now, if you're considering on smoking weed, I highly recommend waiting until you're about at, like the youngest would be 20 years old because your brain then is starting to be fully developed then and you can actually recognize those things and you know that okay, this isn't normal. When you start smoking weed when you're like super young and you're still learning so much, especially about yourself, um you know, like there are so many things that you start to like you think that are happening because like of other things, but in reality it's all happening just because of the weed. And um sorry, I kind of got off track there. um
No, you're good.
yeah, but it really starts to affect like the weed really starts to affect like who you are as a person if you're smoking it at a young age. I found that all the people that I know who started smoking weed way later, the weed doesn't change them. The weed is just an every now and then thing. It doesn't all of a sudden become their whole personality. But when you start smoking weed like young and then you start smoking it heavily, it does become your entire personality. And it's not a good thing. Don't get me wrong, like when you look at the kids at school and you're like, "Oh my goodness, like that looks so cool. Like I want to be one of those guys who's taking the big bong rips or, you know, taking dab rips in class and it doesn't affect them whatsoever." Yeah, no, at first from the outside it looks cool, but in reality that isn't cool. That person's constantly smoking weed to feel normal because now that they've smoked so much weed, when they're sober, they're way down and they don't feel like a normal person. They feel like they're fucked up when they're not high.
Well,
And it's really funny to say that because with all the dare campaigns and stuff like that at school, they always said that, but so many kids we don't believe it. I didn't believe it. I was like, oh no, that's bullshit. That won't happen to me. But that's exactly what happened to me. So it's definitely one of those things where I highly recommend you definitely wait until you're older and stuff like that to start doing it, because that's when you can actually enjoy weed for what it is, and it's not actually going to affect you insanely, and it's not going to take over your life either for years or affect you for years on end, even without you even realizing.
yeah.
Just you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it's the same thing for alcoholics. Like, if they're not drinking, they don't feel normal, right?
Yep.
So no, I was
Yep.
just gonna
Yeah.
add that. Yeah.
Dylan can
Dylan,
attest to
no,
that.
No, not really entirely, but like it it's the same thing for alcohol, like
well, yeah.
especially when you're in social places and you feel like I have to drink or I am not going to be like, I'm going to be awkward and blah blah blah, you know?
Or you
Yeah,
start
that's
craving like beer after work. Like you start
Yeah.
drinking
oh
so
Well,
much,
yeah.
it's
it's
like
like
you come home and
coping,
like, okay,
but then
I
also
have to drink like 2 or 3 beers. So
like you can rely on it to like cope, especially after like a long day.
yeah,
And then lots of people use it for like a social tool, like as a mechanism, which I honestly wouldn't say is entirely a bad thing. Just it's up until the point where you need it to feel comfortable in social situations.
yeah,
Then at that point, it definitely becomes unhealthy. But I mean, same goes for alcohol. I think that you could like it's definitely if used um at like a mature level, it's not entirely bad.
Yeah,
right.
the way I use it now, it's super unhealthy for you. For personally, I would rather smoke weed, but again, I'm working towards that, right? I get drunk like once every couple months, and that's for maybe a couple nights in a row, and that's it. You know, I don't drink very often. That's the same thing with weed. I used to smoke so much weed before, but now I'm like, bro, I just want to smoke it once every couple of months, maybe a couple of days in a row. During that, that's it. You know, I don't crave to be like drunk and or high all the time. So, and I think when you get to that level, I think that shows a fundamental issue with you as a human. Like
Mm-hmm.
say, for example, if you needed to be less socially anxious, that just shows you need to work on your social anxiety. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I view the tools or the substances and whatnot. Um, but yeah, no, man. Before we end the episode, man, I wanted to. Ian, are you still there?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you wanted to talk about the Ohio thing.
yeah. Oh,
So
right. Yeah.
educate us on the Ohio thing.
Ohio shit goes crazy. So first off, you got this company. I think it's Norfolk Southern or like Norfolk something train company, right? Uh, they run a couple of railroads just across the country, and one of them happens to go through a town called East Palestine, Ohio. Uh, Train derailed carrying like I don't remember the exact number, but it was a hazardous like material train basically, carrying uncured PVC, which is just generally bad for the environment and incredibly unhealthy for just generally just being near, especially the uncured shit. Like, once in pipes and everything, it's all good and cool, for the most part. Um, I think the FDA, I want to say it's 90s or 80s or something. Whenever, sometime they basically made like, stopped using it for food because it was like plastic, some whatever. Long story short, multiple cars or like liquid cars full of uncured PVC. Train got derailed. Some broke open, spilled, and they burned it. They mixed it with it was I want to say it was like polyvinyl. It was like maybe some kind of chlorine or sulfide mix or some shit. I don't remember. But they mixed it with that to make it slightly less worse, and then burned it. There were reports, not completely confirmed. It's of course maybe, but there were some reports of animals dying like really nearby, just kind of out of the blue.
Mhm.
If I'm entirely honest, doesn't seem really likely, but yeah. But either way, it's pretty nasty shit. Um, and they, you know, they evacuated this town for only like I want to say like a day or two, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, you're good to come back." They had representatives from the train company go down to the town and try to talk to people, and then the representatives left because their their safety was threatened, quote unquote. Which I mean, I would, you know, I can only imagine you're a town full of people who were exposed to dangerous fucking chemicals. You'd expect them to be a little pissed. And they only offered about $5,000 to like families, like each family, for compensation and damages. And this whole thing mostly just stems from deregulation of safety for train shit. I mean, like, there's some awful, some of the railroads and like, around, I think the area where it happened, like, pictures of that shit. It's like it's just nasty looking. Kayla, you work with railroads, yeah?
Yeah, so I do subcontracting for railroads, and from what I can tell you from my experience with working with railroads, is that the railroad company is doing everything they can to make it look the best for the stock investor.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with CN, they don't pay their bills right away. Like they owe my company $500,000 in payments and stuff like that they just won't pay because it has to go to another person who's going to confirm the payment and who has to go through everything, and it's a whole process. And what's most fucked up is that see how train companies want to perceive themselves is that they are a multi-million dollar or billion-dollar company that is running off of the smallest crew possible. So
Mm-hmm.
how it looks like is that there's a very little amount of people who are actually running this company that's making billions of dollars a year and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and
So,
that is
oh,
part of
go
where
ahead.
I guess not entirely, but earlier this year and last year as well, you had all of these train worker strikes because they don't even like they don't get sick days. They get I don't know. Do they get the full 7 sick days? Because I'm
Nope.
pretty sure they don't. I
They
mean,
don't get any sick days. So
yeah,
how they've changed it now is that they won't, because it used to be a great thing. They used to always want to be able to get onto the railroad because the railroad pay you pension, medical, everything. Like you got a great plan and stuff like that when you joined for a railroad company. But now how they're doing it is that if you join on, there's no more pension plan. They'll give you a signing bonus, which is usually anything between $5,000 and $10,000. But you also have to sign a contract that states that you'll work for them for 3 to 4 years, and if you don't, then you'll have to pay back that money. And if you don't pay it back right away, then they'll start adding interest onto it just to fuck you over. And
yeah,
so one thing too is that yes, they have a very small workforce for their company, but they subcontract all the work out. So then they don't have to show the stock investors that yeah, no, like there's hardly any work being done on the railroad, when in reality, dude, there's so much work being done on the railroad. There's so much safety concerns being done, man. Like half the
and I
time
mean,
they don't care about other companies. They don't care about people. For example, we just did an emergency job in Hell's Gate, and we had to shut down the power to a whole town. And the same guys there were saying that because we had to like do a whole process of removing this rock and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into it because it's a long story, but essentially what happened was we had to shut down the power because it was really close to the power line that we were working. And the CN guy comes over and he's talking to the BC Hydro guy, and he's like, "So how much would it cost if we just ripped out 4 or 5 of these power lines and made the town go out of power for about 2 or 3 weeks?" And he's like, "Well,
Holy
it
shit.
would cost a lot of money." And he's like, "Well, is it equivalent to $1 million an hour? Because that's how much it costs a rail company to stop a train. If you stop a train, it is about $1 million an hour in profits that they are losing. So
Fuck.
you can imagine how much money they lost alone with that derailment in Ohio. That's probably why they went ahead and said, fuck it, let's just burn it.
oh
Because
yeah,
it's going to be a lot easier for cleanup wise to burn it, get all these fucking carts ripped off a track, and then make sure the track's not cracked and start sending trains right through. Because they
yeah,
don't care. They would
yeah.
rather
and-
spend, they would rather pay out $14 million have a derailment and have to sit there for 2 or 3 days because that's going to cost them more money in the long run.
Yeah, with a
I wonder
Norfolk
if they're
Southern,
worried about the consequences for
yeah,
like the
it
pollution
is.
and stuff of burning all that
Fuck
shit.
no.
No,
Fuck
they
no, they're
don't
not.
care whatsoever.
No.
They
Yeah.
like literally, dude. The
Southern.
biggest thing on the railway is that they will turn a blind eye to every dangerous, hazardous work that you're doing. They don't give a fuck what you're doing.
Yeah.
As long as the movement of trains does not stop, they do not give a shit on what you're doing.
But where I
Yeah,
was trying to go with that is like, are they gonna get fined for that?
not
The
Like
fines
for
won't
for
matter.
pollution and stuff?
they'll get fined, but it won't stop much.
No,
It,
probably
like
not. Eh?
if they were to get fined, so like take if you were to fine them say $200 million, you gotta like if you were to do the math, say that I'm just gonna pull it up on my calculator right now. If they're making like say on average 50 to 60 million dollars a day, and you fine them $200 million, that's what 4 days of fucking profits that they're losing. They
Yeah.
don't give a shit. It's cheap because in reality, it's cheaper for them to just pay the fines and not give a fuck. They don't care if
That's
people die.
fucked, man. That's brutal.
One of the
Oh
major
yeah,
issues is just like safety regulations as well, because Norfolk Southern specifically, they were lobbying against like more regulations, and now it's like, oh, they like dump like you know derailment, burning of really nasty fucking chemicals, and like, oh yeah, the same company was like lobbying for like less restrictive safety, for that stuff. It's like it's just a little questionable at best,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I'm actually reading it right now. So I've heard this before. One of the main reasons why the train had a catastrophic failure like that. Let me see if I can find
It
it
was the
again. Or
brakes. The brakes have been malfunctioning for about it
no,
was either
that's
12 or it
so.
was something.
So what we know so far. This is an article from 4 days ago. Um, Investigators have found two videos showing preliminary indications of mechanical issues on one of the rear axles. A local ring camera caught video of one of the train's axles on fire 20 miles from before the derailment. Holy crap.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is yes, that's pretty crazy, man. That's pretty crazy. Imagine driving a car for 20 miles when your tire's on fire or your rotor's on fire.
Yeah.
well,
That's
one thing that I can say is that it is also hard for a train conductor to tell if one of his cars are on fire if he's pulling a track that's over 2 miles long. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
that's I understand that.
Unless
I
there's
get that.
smoke.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you got to think about it though. You're moving fairly fast. You're not going to get the smoke, especially too if it's like
True.
if you're far ahead, because most well, they say that there's always a couple train conductors. It really depends on the load or how big the train is. Usually they'll have a rear engine, and Kale, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They have a rear engine and a front engine, and sometimes a middle engine too. It's not very common though, at least around here where I live. But
It's
we don't have that many trains. We don't have that many big trains here. Um,
Mhm. Well, it all depends on how much the train is pulling. So how they
yeah.
do that is that if it's a very short load, um they'll only have one main what's it called? They'll only have one big one at the very front, and then that'll pull the entire thing. If it's a very long one, then they'll have one at the start, one in the middle, and then one at the very end. And like it all varies. Sometimes like they do one at the front, one at the end, just in case if they're doing switching and stuff like that, pulling different cars around in the yards and stuff like that.
Right.
Sometimes it makes it easier to have one on the end, but it all varies. You know what I mean? It also depends on the loads and what shipments need to go out right away because they're hauling food or anything like that. Like it's very the variables very much come into effect once you start adding up all those different types of.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
around here I've seen that it's really common up here in southern Alberta for them to have two locomotives at the start, right?
Mhm.
So they would have two in the front. If it's longer, they would have one at the end. But I've also seen like a really long one come through town. It was two at the start, two in the middle, and one at the end. So
Probably an oil train.
yeah, that was a long
All that
fucking
oil
train.
weight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The biggest thing about this though, I don't blame the conductors necessarily because again, they're not the big company making decisions, making company not nationwide guidelines because that company is always at fault no matter what the guidelines are for the nation because it's your job to make sure everything's safe, right? You don't
Mhm.
just because you have guidelines, that's the bare minimum you have to do. You can do way more than that. But I don't necessarily blame the train conductors because again, you don't know. I mean, we obviously don't know everything about it, so maybe they couldn't see. And you also got to understand too, maybe they did see it and they tried to stop. Trains take a while to stop too, especially depending on the load, how much load they have, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
oh yeah, they take forever to stop. And but the biggest thing I'm seeing about this is I'm not defending the whole situation, but I think people need to give it a little bit, at least for the government to, because the government to have action. Because I know there's like $5. I know you said $5,000. There's actually $5 the company paid to each citizen in Palestine. Um, five
Five
dollars.
dollars?
Yep,
You
five
don't
Are you
have
dollars.
serious?
$5, but
Wow.
you
Yeah,
got
five.
hours of your
That
time to sit.
Wow.
dude, that
It,
sounds fake. That's
no,
fucking
it's
nothing.
it's
That is
real.
like a
It's $5.
that's a
Yeah.
What the
bag of chips, dude.
fuck?
Yeah, for
I
real.
here's a bag of chips. I saw some people online too saying that like in communist Russia too after Chernobyl they had like some people getting like medical insurance like all their stuff paid off for life. And I'm like, how come we can't do that in here? And I'm like, guys, you gotta give it a little bit before that this shit just happens. You know what I mean? I'm not defending the situation, but I'm also like temper your expectations because for one, this whole thing could have been avoided by the company, right? As Kale said earlier, there's a bunch of shit behind the doors that we don't know that's he has kind of insider knowledge about, right? Because it's his field of industry, right? You know, there's all shit sort of happening, right? And just keep giving backlash, but then don't give it some time, though. You know what I mean? The thing that really makes me mad, though, is there's plenty of videos online that shows the water. I'm sure you've seen it, the water with the oil. Let me see if I can find one real fast.
Yeah, the water's like rainbow.
I know it's all
Yeah.
oily and sludgy, and I'm like, dude, that's not safe water. I mean, I don't know if y'all took like middle school chemistry or middle school science class, but water is and water and oil do not mix naturally, and it's
Thing, I
you know,
guess. Sorry, with Chernobyl though, they were given life insurance, but
yep,
it wasn't very. Their lives weren't very long after
no,
that.
they're gonna.
It didn't
Yeah, it
So it
wasn't
was
very
cheap.
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
didn't
well,
matter.
that the whole Chernobyl thing, man. Honestly, you're kind of you're
Yeah.
kind of like, well, you die immediately or you die in 6 months. So this is
Right.
another thing too. I mean, you temper your expectations a little bit. Go ahead and hop on the video thing real fast. All right.
Yeah.
And dude, I can't fucking believe that they only gave $5. Like that
Yep.
seriously sounds fake.
Nope.
Like
It's not.
that is such an insult, dude.
Yep. five
Like to
dollars.
only give somebody $5, they might as well not do anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be better for their PR if they just did nothing.
Yep. All right. Are you all ready for the video?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right. Here we go. Whoop.
Being this close, I don't trust it.
Residents of East Palestine, Ohio, where a train derailed and spilled toxic chemicals earlier this month, expressed anger and concern on Friday after a plume of pollution moved down the Ohio River.
I am frustrated. Here I am. I just moved 7 months ago. I busted my ass to make this place look like it does. And I gotta move. Because I'm not safe being here. There is no way we are safe being here.
Ted Murphy told Reuters that he and his 80-year-old mother are now looking for a new place to live.
There's nothing
Oh,
in there,
yeah.
is there?
Despite
Oh,
state health
man.
officials'
Ooh.
insistence that the town of nearly 5,000 is a safe place to be.
We're not getting any truth. They are not gonna own up to what's going in there until they are forced to.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine said Friday that pollution in the Ohio River, a source of drinking
That's
water for
pretty much the
5
entire
million
video.
people, had
But
now
yeah, that's the main
dissipated.
thing I wanted to cover
that state-
real fast. That's that video. Yeah, that ain't safe. I wouldn't be drinking that water.
Nope.
No, neither
Nope.
would I.
Yeah, I honestly, dude, I'd be pissed too. That's
Yeah.
that's
And
not
that's
right.
a really sad story for him too. Him
Yep,
as an individual.
exactly. Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. and it's horrible, man. And that's not the first video. I've seen plenty of videos online. I saw this one that was just in this little creek. So when they throw a rock, and you could see like the
Oh, yeah.
sludginess of the surface, because like if you've ever mixed oil and water together, right? Like it kind of gets sludgy on the top and the surface, right?
Mhm.
The
That's
oil
kind of
sits on
how.
top, right?
Yep.
Or is it the water?
I think I think the water sits on top, but this is
Okay.
so it mixes together.
I think
There's
it's
so
how
much
it's
oil in the
depending
water, right? Huh?
I think it's how it's mixed. It all depends on
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
sits.
But no, the surface of the water was like sludgy and kind of like, say if you have like a bowl of cheese or whatever, and like you leave it in the refrigerator and you had that little top kind of, I don't want to say crust because that's nasty, but like that, you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about? It's a little harder on top, right? Or whatever. Um,
It's like creme
yeah, that's
brulee.
yeah, like that liquid cheese dip or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how it was with this oil on top. And I'm like, bro, that's
Mhm.
man, I wouldn't be drinking that water.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
tell you
and
what.
one thing I wanted to bring up as well is so as a contractor for for a rail company is that so when a train's going by, you always like you radio into the train that, oh yeah, no, you're clear on the south line, like you're good to proceed through and stuff like that. We don't see anything wrong with the train. You're good to go. See you guys later. Have a good day. All that fun stuff. But one thing is that if you see something on a train and you think it's at fault and you call it in and they have to stop the train and check it out and there's actually nothing wrong, your company then gets fined. Your company then gets banned from the property itself. So what'll happens a lot of the time is that yeah, no, there are a lot of faults in the train itself, but nobody's willing to actually say anything because they will get slapped with $1 million fines like it's nothing, and like CN won't care. Not CN. Sorry, a rail company just won't care and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's so for a lot of the time, it's no, there's something going on with the train, but nope, don't say anything because if you stop that train, it's gonna stop you for 3 hours and it's gonna cost the company $3 million. So don't do that. Let the train get to the next place where it needs to stop, and then they'll fix it there.
And
It's
that's where all the
really
errors happen, is in that little amount of time, right?
yeah, exactly. And that's where all these little errors happen. So like I can almost I can't guarantee you because I don't know the facts. I don't know where the train was seen beforehand. I don't know what the crews were doing or anything like that. But there might have been the chance where someone could have seen something and then gone, "Oh, well, I should go say something." And then their boss went, "No, no, 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 don't say anything because if it's not actually something, then we're the ones getting fined for
That's that's
That's
fucking
absolutely, yeah,
ridiculous.
that's
Yeah.
brutal.
it." Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you got fucking fined there for $3 million because a false call. Your tire, your fucking metal tire wasn't on fire. Your
Yeah,
wheel
but
wasn't on fire.
yeah, but it was glowing hot red. But no, 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 don't stop the train because it might cool down later on.
Yeah, yeah, all that air. That's how they cool off motorcycles. It's air cooled.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah,
If it works on my Harley, surely it'll work for this train.
yeah, exactly. This train that's
Yeah.
pulling more than 1 million pounds of fucking material.
Well,
More
I'll
than
tell
a
you
million
what.
Harleys.
I'll tell you what. I'm more than 1 million pounds myself.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Hell yeah,
That,
brother.
that's crazy though. I didn't realize how corrupt
Yeah.
like railroad companies were, man.
Well, there's
That's
a lot of
crazy.
money in
Yeah.
it, so that
It's
they're
all
they're
about
bound to
the
be corrupt.
Yeah.
stockholders. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
It's
That's
it's
fucked.
really nuts and like a big and like that's the thing too like they like one thing that I kept seeing online was that the train company was paying the media not to cover it, and a lot of people were being like, oh well, that's bullshit, the media, of course the media is going to cover it. Well, no, when you're a multi-billion-dollar company and you're a multi-million-dollar media company and all of a sudden this huge event comes up and you're about to post something about it and then they come up to you and go, no, 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 if you don't say anything about it or if you just downplay it a whole bunch, we'll give you this amount. So now it's no longer about what's actually the truth. It's the truth that has a good price tag on it.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Because
Yeah,
it's
buying out
nothing
the
to
press.
it's yeah, exactly. It's nothing to them to hand out an extra $10 million to seven or eight media companies and stuff like that, because that's only going to be 2 or 3 days worth of profit for them. They don't give a shit. It's
Oh
easy,
yeah.
like I said earlier. It's easier for them just to pay the fines and pay people to shut the fuck up than it is to actually deal with the problem itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, as you say, money over life, right?
Money
Yeah.
talks, dude. Or
Yeah,
it
It's a powerful tool.
stops people from talking.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. That's pretty whack.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I think this is a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it
The
was a
show.
long one too, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
well, hour and a half.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
what it feels like a
still.
while. We talked quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been nice having you on, Kale. Try to
Yeah,
do it on
Yeah,
here more
no, it was
often.
great.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely try and be on here more. It also all depends on my work schedule. So
Right.
Yeah.
whenever I can, I will definitely try and be on here and talk about like a lot more things because I like, especially too when it comes to railroad companies and stuff like that. I know lots of it, or subcontracting or
Yeah.
anything like that. So yeah, I thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate
course.
it. It's been a great experience, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah,
Yep.
well,
No. Yeah.
we do them once. We
You-
try to do them once every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So
Heck yeah.
that gives us time
Yeah.
to edit them. That gives me time on top of all my editing work to make these shorts because it's a lot of
Yeah.
work. But yeah,
Yeah. The Joe Rogan style shorts the clips are a little bit of work too.
Yeah. So
Especially with how. Go ahead.
are you working on that so we can have like 5-minute clips that we can upload to YouTube or something?
Yeah. I'm
Cool.
trying to, but it's difficult because Ian's mic is always running.
Oh yeah.
So
That episode
I
might
think
be
I might.
hard, but I think this
Yeah.
episode's gonna be a lot better to work with.
Yeah, I think I might ditch that like last and just kind of work on this one.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well-
it's episode number 2. It's not your fault, Ian. Don't worry
No,
about
I
it.
know. So the issue with OBS on that is that it's
Always
not,
recording.
it's taken directly from my mic, so it doesn't have as good as like noise canceling as just straight off
Oh
of
yeah,
Discord.
I see.
So
Yeah.
I've been trying to fuck with those settings, and I haven't found a good spot for them.
Cool.
I need to
Yeah,
I need to work at that.
I'm still working on my Subway Surfer gameplay so I can get good enough to.
I'm not gonna be able to watch it if you don't have Subway Surfers in the background, man.
Or
Yeah,
or the
dude.
one of like GTA when they're up in the sky and they run cars down those fucking things.
Oh, dude.
Those ones, yeah.
Yeah, like the
if we-
stunt races.
Yeah.
If we have to do that, dude, there ain't no way in hell I'm gonna be able to do that.
There'll be some fucking
Oh, it's too
iPad kid
difficult.
just like watching it.
Nah,
The
yo,
biggest
GTA.
demographic is iPad kids.
Yeah.
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 Or like those Facebook fucking ads that you see for those dumbass games and shit where it's
Oh
like,
my
you need
Piss
to
of
Oh my-
buy a game.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah.
We gotta talk about that next time because those are
Yeah.
awesome. man.
Like the chicks who have a sniper when they shoot the bullet, like their ass
Oh
jiggles
my
and
God.
stuff.
yeah.
Or like the ones with
Yeah.
the zombies or something that are like they run up to this chick and they like try to fuck her, but then she farts on them or something. It's like I don't. It's
It's
so
fucking
It's a
weird.
classic, man.
What type
the
of ad
classic-
profile do you have?
I don't
Yeah, for
know.
real.
The Mafia City ones, the ultimate
Oh.
class.
Yes.
Oh
missed that.
man.
Yeah.
Level
Raid
99
Shadow
Mafia
Legends.
boss.
Yeah.
Raid
Yeah.
Shadow Legends.
But
Oh, man.
anyway, y'all, we're gonna go and wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, stay tuned. I'm still working on the Discord. I haven't really made much progress on it, but I will make a video uploaded on the channel, announcing the opening of the Discord. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, just join the Discord when it's open. Hit us up, and we'll see how it works out. Anybody have any closing statements?
Nope.
No. No, I
Okay.
got nothing.
Stay
All
safe
right.
and be good.
Yeah, be good. Don't do
Yes.
drugs.
Exactly.
All right, everyone. You take care. Bye bye.
See ya.
Yeah.